hectic schedule awaits Prime Minister Narendra Modi on day 2 after staying over at his counterpart, British Prime Minister David Cameron's farmhouse. Prime Minister Modi will now return to London for a round-table conference with CEOs, which will also be attended by representatives of major British companies. After the closed-door meeting with corporate bigwigs, the Prime Minister will also be heading to Buckingham Palace for a lunch with Queen Elizabeth. And apart from meeting CEOs and dining with the Queen, another big highlight of the Prime Minister's day 2 in London will be the mega address at Wembley. And India Today gets you the ground report on all the preparations that are being made for the massive rally and the fireworks display that has been planned at the iconic Wembley Stadium.
The most iconic places in London are immersed in the tricolour, the Parliament Square, the London Eye and the Wembley Stadium. The stage is set in the Wembley Stadium, but the organisers have not allowed us in even for a sneak peek because they don't want to take away from the first feeling, the first look when it is unveiled on the 13th of November in front of a 65,000 people crowd. But we do know what could be happening on the stage. 642 people performing. On one hand, there are traditional Indian performances of art forms like Kathak and Bharatanatyam, and on the very other hand, we have London Philharmonic Orchestra, which is very traditional to Britain and one of the best orchestras of the world. And there will be voices like Jay Sean and Kanika Kapoor. So what seems to be happening is that traditional India is coming together with traditional Britain and creating a new identity, a new voice, a new colour, possibly taking the relationship to another platform, which is what possibly this visit is all about. Also, the two prime ministers will be addressing this magnificent crowd.
Deputy Editor Smita Sharma now joins us live from London. Smita, first of all, let me begin by asking you, where is the Prime Minister and what is going to be his first meeting for the day?
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his way to London from Chequers, where he spent the night last evening, the countryside residence of his British counterpart. And the two of them, in fact, even had a private conversation in an informal setting this morning. Narendra Modi expected to reach, in fact, 11 Downing Street, Lancaster House, any moment now, in a short while from now, because this is where he will be getting into that closed-door meeting with top CEOs from, of course, the Indo-UK, the Indo-British firms as well. Now, as far as the CEOs are concerned, Avantika, we have Cyrus Mistry. We also have Baba Kalyani of Bharat Forge Limited. There's Analjit Singh. There's Dr. Rajiv Modi. There's C.K. Birla, Sunil Bharti Mittal, Aditya Puri of HDFC Bank, Dilip Sanghvi of Sun Pharmaceuticals Limited. So, it's going to be closed-door interactions focusing on business, of course, and Mr. Modi here does mean business. I'm joined here by Rahul Roy Chaudhary, who's a senior fellow for South Asia at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Rahul, a very good morning to you. Give us a sense of when this meeting gets underway in a couple of minutes from now, actually in around 25 minutes. What should we expect?
I think there are two things to expect. Firstly, this is a new group of CEOs that have been formed between India and the UK, and that sends a very strong message that both India and the UK mean business, that they want to focus on B2B links. So that's the first message that comes out. Right. The second message that comes out is that this group, I think, will focus a lot more on Made in India, which is something that both the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and David Cameron talked about yesterday.
But so, for Made in India, perhaps, to come onto a grand scale, is India really looking at that defense co-production, making that a center stage, incorporating that into Make in India here?
That's a very important component of the Make in India, and BAE Systems, for example, the largest British defence manufacturer, has been making in India in many ways for over 50 years in different shapes and forms with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL. But the key, I think, focus will be not only on defence issues, but also in terms of investment in other areas as well. But defence, you're right, it becomes a key component. We were expecting that there would could be a deal between India and the UK for the additional supply of Hawk advanced jet trainers, and we have to see whether that will take place.
That will still take some time to materialize. In fact, there were announcements yesterday of some 28 projects in the offing worth to the tune of some 9.2 billion pounds, but essentially not G2G, not government to government, but B2B or business to business. In fact, commercial projects partnership that will be inked finally. But Rahul, going through those that figures that we talk about, Xi Jinping comes into UK, you see figures of 50 billion pounds springing up. Here we are talking about 9.2 billion pounds springing up. But in this, there are a lot of components which is about projected growth, which is about, possibility of insurance companies coming into India and investing subject to regulatory clearances. So are the realistic numbers actually much lesser than the 9.2 billion figures?
I think we have to do the sums at some stage, but there are key deliverables here that are possible. Vodafone, for example, agreeing to invest more than £1 billion into India, other areas. But I think comparison with China is a bit misleading, because in a way with China, when President Xi was here a few weeks ago, there was clearly a focus on the business to business links. But with India, I think what we're looking at is implementation, is the reality of these links. And remember, the UK and India have had a very good trade, have had a very good investment relationship, if not so much on the trade issue.
Absolutely, the third investment, in fact, largest partner there that we are talking about in terms of the India-UK relationship. But clearly, Lancaster House is where the top CEOs, I must say, they've come in actually at 8 o'clock this morning. It's been an early start for them. They've been waiting now for nearly 2 hours, but security officials clearly will not let us media persons go in. We will be here at on the footpath, on the pavement, outside 11 Downing Street, and we'll also get in those reactions from CEOs as and when they come out of that closed-door meeting.
Absolutely, Smita. In fact, we will continue to talk to you in detail, but let me also get in a quick word from Lavina Tandon, who's also been updating us with all the news. Lavina, of course, the focus really is also going to be on the extravagant event that one is expecting at Wembley Stadium, but the lunch with the Queen is something that will hog also a lot of limelight, and especially, when Xi Jinping made his presence felt, there was a lot of camaraderie between him and the Queen. There was exchange of Shakespeare, embroidery. What can we expect from the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Queen?
Well, when you have started with a comparison, let me just give a little one clue there. Xi Jinping got a state banquet. And only heads of state actually come and get state banquets, rather get audience with the Queen. To get audience with the Queen is also quite a big thing. So Prime Minister Modi is not getting a state banquet. He's having a private lunch, which is good enough as well, considering this is not a state visit and he's not a head of state. So he's not the president of a country. That being one. There will be a private lunch, and when it's a state banquet, then she takes you around to show a lot of stuff, a lot of artifacts are laid out, like you said, the embroidered stuff and all. And I've been told by the Buckingham Palace themselves that they will be showing Prime Minister Modi as well and taking him through some of the artifacts in the Buckingham Palace, and I hope a lot of them are not from India. Just to get in, because a lot of stuff is taken from here. No, probably not the time to raise Kohinoor as well, but just repartee aside. So he will be shown a lot of artifacts, and will have private lunch with her. Just to tell you, in the lunch, Duke of Edinburgh, who's the husband of the Queen, will also be present. It's very interesting, I would tell you. This man has all his life, in lunches or in official events, walks one step behind the Queen. He can't walk with the Queen despite being the husband. So, because that's the kind of protocol that this palace follows. A palace which is the official residence of the Queen, where she meets and greets heads of state and hosts official functions. It is the administrative house and place from where the Queen works. It has 775 rooms, if that is of any interest.
Right.
And 122 staterooms. It's a amazing and a beautiful place, and Prime Minister Modi will be taken through some of the places inside.
Right. Lavina, stay with me. We will talk a little bit more about his visit to Buckingham Palace and, of course, that event at Wembley later on. But Smita, coming to you now, comparisons with the Chinese premier is inevitable. UK's trade with India has lagged that of China in the last decade or so. The Chinese are investing hugely in the UK, something that India cannot match up to. But, I was reading Keith Vaz's statement where he says that the visit of the Indian Prime Minister is extremely significant. Is that why, we are seeing this new team of CEOs and this high-powered business delegation that is escorting the Prime Minister, in his visit to the UK?
Look, warm up, a far more, in fact, warmer relationship with the UK is definitely a win-win for both countries. There is the market that India offers to the UK, and UK, of course, offers its techniques, its services to India as well in terms of its defense technology and all the other sectors as well. But, there, of course, while we know that Manmohan Singh had last come in here for a bilateral visit in 2006, he was here, in fact, in 2009. For a G20 summit, not for a bilateral visit. But there is that keen sense of trying to upgrade the relationship at every level. That's why the two leaders at the joint press conference yesterday also said that it should become an annual summit level of a dialogue process between India and the UK, and one should not have to wait for 8-9 years for an Indian Prime Minister to come into London. This is something that has also been raised. In fact, editorials today across newspapers who have not given too much of a kind coverage really as far as the Prime Minister goes. But if you were to look at pages in The Guardian, the Delhi Telegraph, or even, the Times, they've all somewhere suggested that David Cameron is actually taking quite a risk by coming ahead with all this kind of a grand, warm reception for Narendra Modi, who otherwise, till some time back, was actually a pariah for this country. And, he's still kind of considered a polarizing figure by several sections here. But despite that, David Cameron understands what is the kind of market and his potentials that he's looking at, and also that businessman Gujarati DNA of the Indian Prime Minister that he thinks can deliver upon when it comes to business.
Okay, Smita, just stay with me. Let me also get in a word from Lavina. Now, Lavina, you've been tracking all the preparations in the run-up to that big event at Wembley Stadium, which we will be tracking very closely right here on our channel. Now, Wembley Stadium is, of course, UK's largest and most iconic stadium. We have seen, it hosting some big football final matches, the London Olympics in 1948. Now, how important is this event going to be, for people living in the United Kingdom?
The most important event, I would say, especially for the diaspora. This is the event which has been promoted so much. The entire community has had to come together to organize this event. Entire funding that has happened from and within the community. The organizers are not being paid, they are volunteers. And this event has been prepared for so long. 642 performers coming together and bringing this, and I have to add that this was not arranged very long back. All this happened, I must say, in a span of about 4 to 5 weeks maximum. The performers themselves were told just 3 weeks back. So they have really worked hard, and a lot of people are looking forward to come and see the extravaganza. We don't still have authentic pictures of the stage inside. So there are a lot of preparations going in, big agencies involved, because this event not only is important for the diaspora, it is just to show the British people here what kind of audience he demands when he comes here, and it just creates a kind of aura. It creates a little bit of impact. I spoke to a few people yesterday when I went to do to just visit Wembley, when the arch was lit up and the whole London, most of the iconic places were lit up in the tricolour, and people were just coming and clicking pictures. Just the whole effect of everything in London. It is poetic justice to see everything in tricolour in London, and Indian people were just coming and clicking pictures and saying, we hope that this visit will change something for us. It will change the stance and the way we are looked at in Britain by the British as well.
Is that a sentiment that you are also getting, Smita, while the Prime Minister, is making a big push to UK investors to come and invest into the country? Why is it that the media out there has not really taken too kindly, or the British press is not taking kindly to the fanfare, pomp and hullabaloo, attached to the Indian Prime Minister's visit to the UK?
Well, Avantika, the British press has its own way of functioning. It's a very evolved and a free press at the end of the day. And this is a liberal democracy in the United Kingdom that we are talking about. So while Mr. Narendra Modi has hardly taken questions back at home, he has hardly conducted press conferences, even when other global leaders have actually come into Delhi, visiting, of course, India. We've only seen joint remarks being given, press remarks being given out by the two heads of states, and not necessarily questions being taken. But he had to make that exception here because David Cameron is somebody who's comfortable taking questions from the British press. Now, they have a way of seeing things. They report a lot on these accusations of intolerance within the country, be it, of course, the beef lynching controversies. But having said that, while those issues are there, it's not like UK also is a country where you do not have any sort of racial hatred incidents that do not happen, or crimes do not happen.
True.
We have seen cases, of course, of racial discrimination happening against especially the Sikh community as well. So these are also issues that do exist. Democracies are not perfect at the end of the day. But there is that opportunity for the two countries, obviously, to be tying up much more in the development sectors, in social sectors, education. This is like the seat of education. When you go to the universities, colleges here, be it Oxford, Cambridge, they're just fantastic universities. And
Right.
there's just so many Indians coming in here, of course, for their higher studies on exchanges and fellowships as well.
So, Smita, as you said, that both the countries are expected to sign some very crucial deals worth billions of dollars that, range across sectors like finance, defense, education. What would you say from what all you have gathered after speaking to industrialists and important people in the industry would be the key areas where the two countries would really be focusing their energies on?
It will have to be the ease of doing business and tax terrorism that has to be sorted out as far as, the investment climate in India is concerned. The companies will be looking forward to assurances for better law and order situation, for better infrastructure facilities within India, if they are to actually come in there and start production as well. These are, in fact, the assurances that the American top CEOs, the Fortune 500 company executives too sought when they had those series of meetings in New York with Mr. Narendra Modi in September. And this is something similar that we will see. But Indo-UK collaborations have increased so much. The Jaguar Land Rover is a perfect collaboration.
Yes.
The St. James Court Hotel where Narendra Modi is staying, which is a Taj property. So it's not just that the Indian employees are actually benefiting. Now, and increasingly, we are seeing Indian acquisitions or Indian, in fact, collaborations where Britishers are getting jobs as well. So it's about creation of employment. These are the key takeaways. And clearly, of course, there are those other soft sectors of politics, of culture, of sports to see more tie-up. Cyber, in fact, warfare, cyber security, where India hopes that 1 million personnel can be trained through British officers in the next 2 to 3 years. And, you were talking about Wembley to Lavina. Remember, Narendra Modi yesterday in his parliament speech actually joked by saying that I'm going to speak at Wembley, and most of the young Indian youth still want to bend it like Beckham. So these are the kind of ties that we are looking at. These ties also present opportunities to work together.
Absolutely. Lavina, you've been staying in the UK for quite some time now. If we talk about big issues like Smita just pointed out, whether it's defense, whether it's security, finance, etc. I just want to know, from your point of view, the local issues that are faced by the Indian British diaspora. What are those issues that have, been irritants for many members of the Indian community while they have been staying in the UK?
Okay, let me start with business, and I'll add a little bit to what Smita said. Absolutely ease of business, but when I spoke to a lot of small businesses who do a lot of business in India and have hotels in India, they say, yes, of course, ease with doing business, but also protection of the currency. Whenever they do business with India, they spend a lot of money but get no profits. Therefore, if the money stays in India, it's fine because of currency fluctuation. Currency protection is something as well that they are looking at when it comes to doing business with India. ease of doing business, of course. If I talk of the local issues now, I would say a lot of the student visa issue and the fact that they are not able to come here, and the whole scenario of bogus colleges, that has deterred a lot of people here from coming to the UK. They are all now moving to Australia or something because the post-study visa is not here. So that's from the student perspective. The immigration rules have become really, really strict, and it almost feels that they are not very welcome here. The second thing is that though we can't really say discrimination to that level, but of course somewhere down the line, and I think that is why Prime Minister Modi picked up on that on the tweet by saying we are job givers, not job takers. And this is the kind of that we come here and we take the British jobs which are meant for British people. That sort of stance is there, and which is why immigration rules primarily have been going stricter from one election to the other. So these are the two key things that keep recurring in every conversation that I have with Indians living here.
All right. And Smita, finally, on a lighter note, I don't know whether the return of the much famed Kohinoor diamond would actually, come back on Indian soil. But very interesting, reactions and comments on the net about the Kohinoor controversy. But if not the Kohinoor, Madam Tussauds is coming to the national capital.
Absolutely. The Mountain of Light, or Kohinoor, of course, remains that crown jewel as far as the British loyalty is concerned, and not really sure the Prime Minister will actually broach that subject in his conversations. But, Mr. Narendra Modi is, of course, known for springing a few surprises, pulling a few bunnies off his hat. You never know. Instead of the Kohinoor, maybe he will actually click a selfie with the Queen. That is something we cannot rule out at the moment. But yes, Madam Tussauds is the wax gallery, the famous wax gallery, which is there in London, in New York, and they will be shortly opening a branch. In fact, in 2 years from now, 2017 is when the target has been set. So perhaps, who knows, we might actually see Mr. Narendra Modi's wax statue there to begin with. But for now, it's just, to give you a little glimpse of London to all our viewers here. It's drizzling. The sky is cloudy, it's grey, and perhaps it's very poetic at the moment. It inspires you to write a lot of couplets, and there are choppers, of course, hovering around the sky, and I believe that is the chopper, in fact, that Mr. Narendra Modi would be in and coming in at the moment, because 10 o'clock local time in a couple of minutes from now is when we expect that CEO's meeting to begin here at 11 Downing Street, which is also the official residence of the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Avantika?
All right, Smita and Lavina, for now.
Nisagama manipamaga nipamaga sanipamani sapasa जहाँ तक याद आती रहेगी